Hi everyone, Stay here and welcome to Builder's Blueprint. Today we'll be tackling the theory behind more advanced diagonals as well as implementing them into more complex and detailed structures. If you missed my last video on how to build the basics of diagonals, make sure to go check it out right here. And without further ado, let's get to it. Part 1. Basic trigonometry. When building a structure, we'll probably work with rectangles or squares. This one, for example, is a 14 by 14. But what would that look like if we tilt it 45 degrees? It would look something like this. And the reason it looks like that is because of a formula you might know. What we can see here is a basic triangle with a side, an opposite, and a hypotenuse. And just like with the square, the sides are 14 by 14. And that leaves us with the hypotenuse, which brings us back to our formula from before, the Pythagorean theorem. This theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, meaning that if we grab our side and our opposite, we can calculate our hypotenuse. The problem arises when we want the same length diagonally as we have horizontally. And this is because we are working with blocks. Even though the side is made out of 14 blocks, as well as the hypotenuse, they aren't the same length. This block of red wool has 4 sides, and I will quantify the sides by block length, with each side having a block length of 1. Now coming back to the Pythagorean theorem, we can calculate the diagonal of this square. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then c equals the square root of a squared plus b squared. Because the side of the block have a block length of 1, we can add that into the formula, finding a c of 1.4. Now, I can hear you think, why is this important in the first place? Well, that brings us back to this square. With a base length of 14 blocks like we had before, going up this diagonal block, we wouldn't need 14 blocks because it would be longer, because the diagonal of a block is 1.4 block lengths, instead of the sides being 1 block length. So to compensate this, the amount of blocks we need to divide by 1.4. So for 14 blocks, horizontally, diagonally, we need 14 divided by 1.4 equals 10 blocks. So any straight line of blocks that you want to take diagonally in Minecraft, you need to divide the amount by 1.4. Let's try this out by building a house. Part 2. Advanced diagonal construction. Right here we have 2 houses, one built straight and one that's built diagonal. And as you can see, they are quite similar in design. They have a small porch area at the front, an upper area with a balcony, and the same kind of roof. Part 2a. Walls. Let's start looking at the walls first. We'll start with a straight wall like this, 2 logs on the side and 5 blocks in the middle. It is very important when we are building this design diagonally that we make sure that our corner blocks are in the right spot. Because like this, it will look kind of awkward, because on one side of the build, we create depth, while on the other side of the build, we just extend the line. To prevent this from looking awkward, we place the block right here. And we do this because both sides will have the equal amount of depth. As we count the blocks that we have in our walls, we go 1, 2, 3, and 4, we'll see that on the bigger one we have 5 blocks. Well, if we calculate and divide the 5 by 1.4, as we said before, we'll get 3.5. I think it's just a little bit nicer and easier to build with 1 extra than it is with 1 less diagonally, so I chose to go for 4. Part 2b. Roofs. Full blocks and slabs will be your best friend. It will look and feel incredibly awkward if we just use stairs. Part 2c. Detailing. When detailing diagonally, it's very important to just keep in mind the shape. The details will never be quite perfect, so it's okay if it's a little wonky, and having it already being diagonal already gives it a lot more depth. And if you want to know how to do this on modern houses, make sure to watch this video as well.